So unless you've been living under a rock or something, you probably heard about the Will Smith Chris Rock fiasco at the Oscars the other night, right? Well, if you haven't seen it, here's a little clip.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty rude, right? I mean, there was a lot of back and forth going on. Chris Rock insults Will Smith's wife, and Will Smith laughs in the beginning, but then goes up and slaps the guy's face. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of bad all the way around. No one's really a winner in this situation. But what no one's talking about is the medicine behind slapping. Yeah, that's right. What happens medically when someone slaps you hard enough that you actually go flying, maybe even go unconscious? Well, today we're gonna find out. Well, when you do get slapped, the first thing that happens right away, it doesn't matter how hard of a slap you actually do, is that when you slap, you get a bunch of red skin in that area. It's much more obvious when the harder the slap is, especially when you have your hand wide open. Obviously, a punch would probably break some bones, in your face, but a slap right there would actually cause a lot of blood to infiltrate the area. And now this is actually a sign of inflammation. Inflammation takes on a variety of forms, but one of them is rubor or swelling or redness, and that can come with heat as well as blood rushes to the area and brings in heat. Inflammation starts going around and things get hot and red and maybe swollen, and that's all a sign of inflammation. And the process of inflammation ultimately is to stop damage, assess the situation, and repair. But that's, kiddie stuff, you're just gonna get slapped and your face is just gonna get red. But what happens if you slap harder? Maybe you get to the level of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock? Well, let's take a look at the video.
Oh, wow.
Now you can see that Will Smith did knock Chris Rock off his, posture, and he's kind of got off imbalanced and everything. But he did have a good wind up, and the slap was pretty direct onto his cheeks or chin area, sort of like that. But that's all pretty good. That's pretty good slap. I mean, objectively speaking. And it did knock Chris Rock off his feet. But the thing that didn't happen is Chris Rock did not seem to be passed out or anything. Obviously, he got phased. I mean, he was laughing as Will Smith was walking up to him, but he didn't look to be loss of consciousness or anything. He didn't look to be delirious or anything. So obviously, there was no traumatic brain injury or concussion or something like that. But that leads into the next thing. Chris Rock is actually a pretty short dude compared to Will Smith. Will Smith is 6'2", he seems to be pretty buff and everything, you can see his muscles, but Chris Rock is much shorter than him, and he's not as buff as Will Smith, obviously, but he could take a slap. I mean, props to that guy. And obviously there's a lot of physics with slapping. I mean, you could go with an open hand, if you go with a closed hand, maybe a cup thing, maybe the aerodynamics change and everything, but this was a nice open slap. And the open slap provides a lot of surface area, and surface area brings a lot of contact. So obviously slaps can be much faster than punches. Punches have a smaller surface area, right? So they direct a lot of force in a small area that can cause fractures, especially in the jaw, and then there's some bones like the maxilla over here, going into the temporal bone, like that arch. A lot of things can happen. If you go a little higher right here, maybe into the temporal area right here, you could bust your middle meningeal artery. The middle meningeal artery goes right into your brain cavity, and that can cause epidural hematoma or something like that, and that could be even worse. But obviously nothing like this actually happened, and Chris Rock and Will Smith, it was like a slap and then it kind of went over, and Chris Rock was talking right away. It didn't really look like any other signs of traumatic brain injury or decreased level of consciousness. But there are decreased level of consciousness at slapping contests, and here's a little clip from a guy named Wolverine.
1, 2, 3. Oh! Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this guy Wolverine, he's 6'1", 185 pounds, and he packs a slap, let me tell ya. And he actually knocked this guy out and right onto his face, and he fell down immediately. And that is a sign of traumatic brain injury. And actually, a level of consciousness loss is a sign that it was actually a serious traumatic brain injury, and he should not be returning to slapping anytime soon or being slapped at. But the Wolverine, he packed a punch. And Wolverine even got slapped because obviously it's a slapping contest, that's what you do. But he didn't really lose level of consciousness. He was like off balance a little, but that didn't really indicate that there was a serious level of traumatic brain injury. Obviously, it's a lot of slapping that goes around, and levels of consciousness get like, you know, a little iffy here and there, and they're off balance a lot. So in those situations, yeah, I mean, he's probably gonna have some brain damage if you look under a microscope after some time. So those are the really big things that happen with slapping. You can obviously get inflammation in the area, you can probably get some broken bones, and depends on the shape of the slap and all that, but you know, that's physics for another day. You can obviously rupture some blood vessels here and there, depending on where you get hit. It could be more serious or more minor. And the biggest thing is traumatic brain injury, loss of consciousness, you know, all that stuff, concussions. And you know, your brain rocks back and forth during those times, and it's just not a good thing. So unless you're, you know, you have some padding or something, like a helmet during a slap contest, I wouldn't really recommend slapping. But that's about it. So that's your lesson on slapping and medicine. Before you go, please do hit the like button and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And I'll see you next time.